I think I'm good to go now. Okay, one sec. It has been a while since I've done this. I think we're live. Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. Oh, man, I've missed you all so much. Let's raise this a little bit. Okay, I'll give this a couple minutes before we start. It's not quite 1:30 yet. I don't know if anyone's even in here or not. If I can get a chat that says you can hear me and stuff, that'd be cool. Otherwise, yeah, I think we'll be starting pretty soon. That's my alarm. Cool. I think we're good to go. All right, let's get this going on. I hope you had a fantastic holiday. I often say as well, holidays are kind of like a sad time for some people. So if it was a sad time for you, hopefully you know you've got a little community here and you know you're not alone and this and that, right? But let's get into it. So I'm going to start with the indices. So we'll take a look at, you know, sometimes typos do good things. This was not a good one. Don't worry about that. We'll take a look at the NASDAQ, at the S&P 500, at the Dow Jones. I'll also take a look at Bitcoin really quickly. I don't normally do that. And then we'll start getting into a whole mess of tickers, all right? So look, Friday was kind of an ugly candle, all right? And, you know, there was some thought that it might have been end of the year sell-off, this and that, right? If you look at the S&P 500, you actually see the exact same candle, right? Almost, let's take a look real quick. The low of the day and the close of the day are basically $1 away, right? So it was a tough end of the year close on SPY. It was the same exact candle as NASDAQ. If it was gonna be like an end of the year kind of sell off, I really wanted today to do some good things, you know? And it started well. You can actually see that we open all the way up here at 619, all right? So we closed down here. We're all the way above all three moving averages, right? So there was actually a minute right there where it seemed like, hey, okay, we're gonna recover. Not really the biggest fan of where NASDAQ closed, but I have to say, just about every single ticker I was looking at looked beautiful, right? So maybe the index wasn't quite there. Hey, it is a Friday. It is a holiday for a lot of people, right? I mean, you know, maybe people aren't going to start trading till Monday, whatever the reasoning might be. I'm a little not happy with the actual index itself. And again, I'm looking at QQQ. It is 100% identical to NASDAQ, right? So I would have liked this to be better, but hey, again, I did really like a lot of the tech stocks today, right? From there, SPY did look a little better. It doesn't gap up as much, right? You saw NASDAQ actually goes above the 8 moving average. This at least does open above the 200, but then yeah, just like the other one, it does close a little lower. Not as low, but hey, again, I would have liked it to be just a better candle. I think for now, I'm really happy that like individual tickers were doing well, and I think that's going to carry it on Monday. But hey, we do got to confirm, right? Last one, excuse me, we'll take a look at the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones actually looked better than the other two, right? So Dow Jones also had this ugly Friday or Wednesday. My gosh, I don't even know what the days are. Sorry about that, right? But the last trading day of the year was not pretty for the Dow Jones. This one doesn't do the monster gap up, but it actually closes up here as opposed to the other ones, right? So Dow does look better than the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, but again, I think I'm a little less concerned than normally just because, you know, stocks did do really well today, right? The last thing I want to look at, and you know I don't do it a lot, but I did get a request for it, so let's take a look at Bitcoin right now, all right? So the first thing I actually want to do is zoom out because I was looking at this. So not the monthly, let's look at the weekly. So the weekly, look, you can ignore my lines. They do line up pretty well, right? But what I'm really looking at right now, and again, this doesn't have the full history, so it's not like the prettiest view, but we're on the 100 moving average on the weekly right now, okay? This is a very difficult line to break up, and it should be a very difficult line to break down. And you can kind of see it already happening, right? We lost the 50 like a hot knife through butter, but hey, the 100 is that much stronger than the 50, and instead of just falling down, we're at least staying horizontal, and now we're at a very important point, right? Are we gonna go above the 8 and go, or are we gonna go below the 100 and not, right? It is one of the two. Yo, there is a very nice channel between this 90K point and this 99, arguably 100K point. 101 is actually roughly where I'm clicking, right? So the potential for Bitcoin to do well is in the next couple weeks, right? Like that's a decent RSI right there. 30 is the lowest it should go. This is essentially an index, right? We were at a very, very high 87 RSI. We've now come back down to a very, very healthy 36, right? So the potential for Bitcoin to do well is there. You can kind of see it on the daily as well. Look, we're either gonna get over the 50 and head on up to the 100, sitting at 102. We just said 101. Otherwise, we're not going to break the 50. We're going to come back down to this 88 range. And then, you know, from there, obviously the weekly doesn't happen either, right? Again, a very nice 61. You've got green over red on both MACD and RSI. It's not that bad right now, actually. So that's at least my quick index review. I'm trying to chapter this so it looks like this was about the 6-minute mark. Okay. I'm going to cover what looks like 25 stocks. I've got written on a little post-it right here. If there's anything you want me to cover, throw it in the chat. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of start running through this. I have not made a video in what feels like maybe 1 or 2 weeks. So I thought the easiest thing to do would just be really quickly cover the usuals. There's a few not usual ones that have caught my eye, and I'm at least going to cover those. And then, like I said, if there's anything you want to add, I will throw it in the list. All right. So these are in absolutely no order at all. All right. So let's start with BBAI. Okay. First thing I see is the 200 moving average down here, all right? You can ignore my line. It's a nicely drawn line and stuff, but the moving average matters way, way more. So the 200 should be very difficult to lose, and hey, at least for now, that is what's happening, all right? If we can get over the 8 moving average, there's gonna be a nice path up to 615, give or take, all right? I can't quite do the math in my head that quickly, but it's you know, some sort of decent percentage, I have to imagine. What I'm really gonna be looking for is if we can get over those 3 moving averages. I wanna see if I can lower my line. I don't mind lowering the line to that. Where's that? Okay. I'm willing to lower our line to there. I think 645 will probably make me believe we've broken those 3 lines right there. It'll make me believe we've broken all 5 moving averages. And hey, from 645 up to 770, that does look like about a 20% move right there, right? Roughly 60 cents is 10%. I'm adding more than $1.20 to this thing, right? So that's a lovely 20% channel I would love to hit. Look, MACD's not quite positive. MACD's not quite green over red, but I do like the RSI. That's at least starting to peak a little bit. The real issue has been volume. We really, really need more volume on BBAI right here, all right? But, so yeah, for me personally, I would wait for 645 to break. What does the weekly look like? Actually, that'd be beautiful on the weekly too, right? You'll get over that cluster of moving averages, and then again, that same 20% move right there. Next on the list, we'll look at SoundHound. So, SoundHound. I'm not a fan when you're below the 8 and the 20, let alone below all the moving averages. And we are under all 5 on SoundHound right now. It's actually quite crazy to see that 22 all the way down to 10 drop right there. I kind of feel like it happened overnight, even though you can kind of see it was a slower drop, and just, my goodness, right? The one positive I will say is there is a decent space between each of the lines, right? I don't like it when 2 lines are clustered together. It becomes really difficult to get over stuff. Yo, I will for sure cover Charlotte's Web. Thank you for that. I see a decent space from here to here, and then from here to here, and then from here to here, and then from here to here, right? I have a couple lines in between that, but for sure you can see that the path is there, and we just saw it. There is a bunch of red, 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 red this entire way down, right? So I wouldn't necessarily want you to think 1450. I think that's a little bit aggressive. I do think there is a path to at least 1230, okay? I would use, that's a little too high. Let me zoom out real quick. Give me a sec. How about you? I like that. I would use 1075. Get me over 1075, I'm then going to watch it climb to 1130. Get me over 1130, I should then watch it climb to 1225. Keep that 1172 in your back pocket, all right? If this goes anywhere below 1050, it's absolutely game over, and I wouldn't be looking here. BBAI does look maybe a little bit better. I'm not going to go back to it, right? The one thing that SOUN has that BBAI doesn't, it's at least a little closer to the average line, right? But yo, this thing's dying in the moving averages, and that needs to change ASAP, right? So that's SOUN. I'm not going to look at the weekly because I think the daily needs to improve before we zoom out more, all right? From there, I'll quickly look at Palantir real quick. Yo, I did not see this happen today. Oh, I wonder, was there any news that made, no, this was a whole day thing. Oh, I didn't see this happen at all, actually. This isn't one, this is a 401k stock, not a flipper for me, all right? But listen, first off, you can't make crazy assumptions on a single candle. That's for sure a big, ugly candle, right? You can kind of see me adjusting my thoughts as I'm looking at it. But baseline is you do need one more before you start making assumptions, right? I'm immediately going to be looking for at least a 174. I think if we can get to 174, that'd be great. Clearly, I would love to say 177, which does put us over that blue 100 moving average line. But hey, at least that 174, 175 is roughly 50% of today's bad candle, right? And then from there, hopefully we'll start climbing back, right? But as we sit right now, yeah, we're basically at the bottom of this. Yo, if we lose 167, the next spot down will be 160. That's basically another 10% drop from where we're sitting right now, right? Then obviously if you lose the 100, you're going to come down to the 200, and that's going to be down here. I really don't know why this is happening. I'm not sure if this is news or anything. The one thing I will say, just kind of going back to the top of the video, NASDAQ didn't look beautiful, right? QQQ is easier to type, but it is the same thing as NASDAQ, right? Not quite a beautiful candle, not quite a good back-to-back, despite how good the other stocks have been, right? So maybe this was a bit of a, you know, I wasn't going to cover NVIDIA. What does NVIDIA look like? No, NVIDIA looks better. Look, I don't think it's a fair apples to apples Palantir to NVIDIA, but yo, Palantir is a beast of its own, so I don't think it's disrespectful to NVIDIA by any means. But yeah, this looks better, and I don't know if the Palantir thing was news. But one more time, I'm looking for at least 174 to 177. Do not lose this 176, otherwise it will go down another 10% to 150. After 150, then you got to be thinking, or sorry, 159, excuse me, then you got to start thinking 151 from there. All right, so that's Palantir. I guess since I flashed it, let me show NVIDIA real quick. So where are we? Look, this is a cluster of 4 moving averages. We have 5 of them, right? So that's a pretty big cluster right there. I like the fact that the 8 moving average is going up. It's actually called a golden cross when the little one goes above the big one. It looks like the 20 is about to golden cross the 100 as well. The problem is when they're too tight, you get a lot of fake signals, right? So I'm not quite using those words just yet. What I'm really looking for is another, like that was a good strong candle over all the lines. We for sure have been over all the lines for the last 6 trading days, today inclusive. But yo, those are all undecisive dojis that might fall back in, right? So I still need a little bit more. Yeah, this is the line. 193. How high did you hit? Did you hit 193? You did not. 192.93, right? Look at that. I need it to get over one and close, obviously, but 193.05. Get me into this big end of October candle, and yeah, I think NVIDIA will start to do well. I think that'll do good things for the NASDAQ. That is a good MACD. That is a good RSI, and yo, NVIDIA doesn't need to smash the 50 MA. This is not a silly ticker. You know what I mean? So it's doing okay there. So cool. That was our AI run. I'm gonna do Rigotti next. I have a little section for weed. I am throwing Charlotte's Web on my notes right now. Charlotte's Web. Cool. Okay, let's get into the quantum tickers, all right? So I'm not really loving Rigotti just yet, all right? I'm actually going to come down here first. Rigotti is a stock that needs to get over the 50-day line. right? I don't want to call this a silly ticker because, I believe in quantum and science and all that sort of stuff, right? But like, there is a problem with volume right now. All right, and that needs to immediately change. Okay, from there, hey, MACD doesn't look too bad. Sorry, MACD doesn't look too bad, but it is still in the negative. RSI is not horrible, but it has been a little bit flat for a bit, right? Like I think I just need a little bit more. From there, I'm not really loving the immediate spacing. Like I wouldn't want, me personally, right? I wouldn't want to trade from this 23 something to this just about 25. It is almost a 10% move, right? So maybe I am poo-pooing a double digit thing when I shouldn't, right? But personally, I think if you can get over, like, let's use 25-25 even, right? 25-20, whatever your risk tolerance is. From there, there's actually a nice path up to 28. And then for sure, I love Rigotti over 28, right? Basically 29, right? I think the real money line is probably going to be here. I think we'll need it to get a little closer to the 30 range. But yeah, I think a good 29 will do it. Look, by the time we go from down here to up here, maybe the 50 moving average line will keep coming down and that'll be a good line, right? But personally, I think over 25 is probably where it's going to pique my interest. What I would love to do is go really big at 29, right? I think I might have said my numbers a little wrong right there, but get me from here to here and we'll go green, 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 red, 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 green, green, green. And that's where we'll bring an 18-wheeler and fill it up with shares, right? So we'll get there. I just think not yet right now on Rigotti. As we look at the weekly, yeah, look at that 28 line, right? It's basically on the 20 moving average. It is the last of the moving averages. Oh, I would love the stock over that right there. Let's take a look at IONQ real quick. Too many moving averages, right? Not quite the good spacing that I want. It is a little tight right there. I think the most educated thing I can say is get me over 55. I'll set an alert real quick. An alert is not an immediate buy notification. It's a come check it out, but you break 55, it should run to 67. That is roughly a 15% move right there, right? 555 is 15. I did bad math. That's a 20% move. Oh my gosh, I can't do the math right there. It's a good move from 55 to 67 for sure. So that's what we'd be looking for. I'm assuming that's going to be the theme. As I say that, I'm wrong. QBTS looks decent. QBTS looks better than the other two, actually. And this one does become a must-watch on Monday. I'm actually putting a little star for myself because I was not looking here and I did not know that. Okay, so why am I liking this? Again, you know what? Let's come down here. This one is at least closer to the 50-day line. This one actually had one that was over it a couple weeks ago and was just trying to get over it, and today actually does. I have a it's barely, but I have a positive MACD. I do see the green over red. That's a very healthy 50. These aren't bad right here. This is not bad either right here. Look, there are 4 moving averages right there. This is a very, very tight cluster, right? It's easy to think it's going to escape when it doesn't, when it's this tight. But I like that we're trying so much so recently, right? This was a good candle. It just couldn't confirm. Hey, we wicked over it. I don't like wicks. I don't really think about them much. I don't give them much weight, but we've been attacking this red line basically 6 of the last 8 trading days, right? So get me over the 50-day line. Make me believe we've broken it and this should go. What's your 50%? Just about your top of the candle. Okay, pending your risk reward tolerance, right? I think 2880 is actually a decent number for QBTS. I think 2950, I'm basically using the top of this little dude right here. I think 2950 might be a better number. What was this number? I'll set an even 29. Again, not an immediate buy notification. It is a come check it out, but I would love to go from 29 to 37, right? Green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 red, red, red. That could be a nice move up. This is a nice channel right there. There is absolutely nothing beyond this little moment right here, right? So, and really, last thing I'll say is the 100 moving average did a really good job. It did, right? It was difficult, 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 difficult. We finally got over it. We've bounced, we've bounced, we've bounced. We didn't really bounce here. We're kind of just going now, right? So, yeah, keep an eye on this one tomorrow. This one's the clear outlier of the two. QUBT is the last one I had here. Look, it's not a bad candle. It obviously isn't, right? But we are below all the moving averages. Maybe you can arguably say there's some decent channels right here. Yeah, I 1250 to maybe over 1250 all the way up to like 14ish is a decent trade. I think that's a decent one right there, but yeah, personally I would ignore this till about 1530, and then from there we'll attack the lines up there. So that's my quant right there. I'm gonna transition to NNE real quick. Hey, if there's any tickers you want me to cover, throw them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm less than halfway. I've got a bunch more I do want to cover, all right? So we'll look at NNE and OKLO. Look, I like these tickers. Like, there is an importance to power. I don't know if nuclear is going to be that final answer or not, right? But it is an answer to a lot of power need, right? Overall, just under all the moving averages is not a good place to be. Maybe there's a little bit of a recovery happening, but on it, like, I know it sounds silly. I really wouldn't touch this thing till we were above 37, right? What's the actual line? That's a little high. That's too low. What's your 50? 38. It's 38. Look, I would ignore the next $10, give or take. And then hopefully we'll go from 38 all the way to like what, maybe 49 or something. Like there are easier trades in a thing that's no such thing as easy. You know what I mean? Otherwise, hey, if you can get over the 8, hopefully you'll take it to the 20. That 250 point, that 34-ish, that's going to be a tough line to break right there though. But yeah, that's NNE. I don't even need to look at the weekly. OKLO is the other one, and then SMR, I think, is it. So this one's a little bit better. This one has just a little bit better spacing going on. We also have a 200 moving average bounce going on. I don't mind going from here to here. That's a little bit more than 10% right there as well. And it really is a lot of red, 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 green, green, green. So I think if this thing just can 2870, yeah, I'll set that alert. I'll do a penny higher. Get me into wow, I think I said 2870. Get me into 7820. And was that the number? 7870. My goodness, sorry. Get me there. We'll ride it up to the 20. 20 might not be an easy break, but if it does, there's also a nice ride all the way up to basically 100. Yo, going from 75 to 100 is basically a 33% move if we can fill boom and boom right there, right? I don't know if it'll get over 100. I think that's going to be a little bit tough right there, but I do think OKLO is actually well worth eyes right there. And again, I'm going to give this one a little star. So I'm ready for Monday. Cool. I like it. I'll look at the weekly on this one. What does the weekly look like? Nice. There's basically a path to 90. That's not too shabby. Where is 90? Right here. Yeah, basically saying I think there's a shot to the 20 moving average. Might not be easy to break, but we'll check it out from there. So 1, 2, SMR is the last one. Oh man, get me over the 20 and I'll like it a lot. That's all I need to say. I'll zoom out. Let's see if there's a good line we can use. Oh, there's a lot happening. That's actually the line right there. You can barely see it, but I accidentally picked 50% candle right there. That basically has us over. You know, maybe I'll even use this, the bottom of that guy. How much higher is that? 1813. Where's that? Nah, we'll take it right there. I'll use a flat 18. Get me into 18. I think the next place we'll go is actually 24. Maybe there'll be a little resistance at 21, but break the 20, you're going to have me going to the 50. Hey, this one is also well worth some eyes right there. Not too shabby. Cool. I like it. All right. Hey, let me know if you disagree in the comments also, by the way. Otherwise, let's keep going. Next, we're going to look at IREN, CIFR, and ONDS. IREN. Okay. Where are we at? So this is not a bad candle right here. That is a nice double digit right there, right? And it kind of looks like it's going up a little bit after hours. Personally, I would wait till that 100 average line breaks right there. All right. I think a good line to use is probably you can even probably just use a flat 45 even, but I think that 44.90 is going to be a good number. Break 44.90, you should make your way on up to 49. If this gets over 49, that's where the good money will come. That's when it should probably get to 61 relatively quickly, actually, right there. And then probably, if I had to guess, do a 72 all-time high retest right there. So I would love it way more over the 50. I think it's very, very much, you can justify an entry over the 100. And like I said, I think that 44.75, 44.80, 44.90, something in that range. I'll set an alert. Why not? Sorry. 80. We'll go in the middle of that. Cool. Nice. I'll look at the weekly on this one. What's the weekly look like? Oh, yeah, for sure. Hold on. What's your line? Actually, this thing says 45.50 is an interesting line. Where's your 45? That's a little too low. But hey, maybe 45.50 based on the weekly could be an interesting answer, actually. So just kind of keep that in your back pocket. I would prefer just a little higher personally. Or a little lower personally. I'd rather get in down here than here. But again, that 44, you know what I'm saying, sorry. All these numbers are getting mixed. I'm going a little too fast. I want to think more and go fast. It's a bad combo. Sorry about that. Sometimes typos do good. Not that time. Let's take a look at CIFR. You know, again, I would rather just get over the 50 right there. Maybe that line right there. I think this needs to get over 18. Break 18 on CIFR and you'll basically retest all-time highs. There's not even much more I got to say. Break 18, it should quickly, I think it'll even go there. It'll probably retest that 1980, break 1980, and it'll go to 23 right there. Just get into 18. What was your open? 1805. Let's call it 1806. 1806 looks like a good line there. Gotta believe it'll be the same thing here. What's your 50% right there? This thing says 1750. That might be a little higher than it needs to. Oh, no, that's lower. Yeah, that is lower. Sorry. 1750. Where's 1750? That's a little too low for me. That's a little too low for me. I don't think the 50 is going to fall that low. I like 18 a lot better right there. But yeah, this one's definitely a must watch as well. So ONDS, we will take a look at this. Yo, this one looked nice right here, right? This one looks like it's starting to take off. This one's actually about to make some nice moves, and I'll draw some decent lines back there. But this thing escaped all the moving averages and ran, fell only to the 100. Good thing it didn't fall to the 200, right? And now it kind of looks like it's starting to rerun again. Really, once it got over this line, that is what was the big one right there, right? So I'm going to come back really to the IPO moment. I'm zooming out, and then we'll zoom in right here. So really, there's not too many lines to draw, right? So that's a 50%. Oh, did it go away? I can only do it once at a time now? Come on. That's a 50%. I don't think I'm going to draw it, but look, 1275. Remember that 1275. But we're basically sitting at this 1111 line, right? We closed at 11, so, you know, we're just under that. Get over 1111, and again, we're coming back all the way to 2021 to make these thoughts because, oh, it froze, one sec. You can see there's been absolutely nothing in those channels for the last, 5 years, right? So we're going all the way back here to make those assumptions, but get over 1111, and look, you can see that was the doji point right there on the top. Makes a lot of sense. What was today's high? Today's high was 1106. Get over 1111. I got to zoom out because I forgot the number. And then you're going to come to that 1414. And then remember, 1275. I'm clicking at 1290. There's a little bit of a horizontal right there. Maybe that'll do something. But again, I think 5 years of absolutely nothing, that's probably going to be a little bit of an insignificant point. That's why I didn't think it was worth watching. So Set an alert if you're not in already. Break 1111. There's a lot to love. That's a very, very low RSI in the 60s right there. When you look at the weekly, it's still only a 60 RSI as well right here. So ONDS is definitely one that looks like it will be, you know, potentially a little longer of one to hold. So, yo, I will add hood for sure at the end. Oh yeah, for sure, my man. Thank you. I love it. Let me know if there's a ticker you want me to throw in as well. By the way, but yeah, yo, ONDS. This thing looks like it did a very, very healthy. Dude, the RSI got to an 8. Oh, I thought it was higher, but we reset very well. Keep this one in your back pocket for sure. Honestly, this is one I've been averaging up on a bit as well. So just your back pocket. That does not matter what I do with my money as well. Trust me, I get way more wrong than right. Knock on wood, I hit eject on time though, right? So, yo, I'm roughly halfway there. I've still got a bunch of tickers to go. We're now going to come into the weed sector. I'm probably going to chapter it right here. So we'll call it 30:45. Not too bad. I think we've been doing pretty well for 30 minutes here. So let's come into the weed sector right now, all right? And yeah, today actually wasn't too bad a day. So there was a comment on the Discord. I think it's worth discussing real quick. So last month was by far the biggest volume TLRY has ever seen. It was the same for CGC. It was the same for MSOS. It was the same. Oh, it was not the same for HITI. I made an assumption right there. Was it the same for SNDL? It was not the same for SNDL. Okay, cool. Makes sense. The US ones. So, was it the US ones? I don't even know TLRs or whatever. You get what I'm saying. So, there was some real big volume that came last month. And like you can see, it's double the other ones, right? Normally, I love volume. Normally, big volume like that is going to get me really excited. My single concern with getting too excited from that volume number is the difficulty it will be to repeat it. All right, so let me go back to the thing I'm talking about as I'm saying these words, right? So, yo, we got 410 million shares in the entire month of December. And let's be honest, December has a lot of holidays, right? So there are months that are actually longer than December, and we more than doubled any of those past months, right? My problem is we need Trump to do something again this month in order for me to actually believe we'll have anything close to this volume. It might happen. Yo, it for sure might happen, right? But like this was a wild outlier of a volume based on a very monumental first presidential moment, right? Dude, I assumed Obama was going to make this moment happen. I thought Biden would make it happen. Dude, it was Trump, right? And like that might happen again for sure. I don't know if it's going to happen next month. And you know, you talk about pump and dump more than on a daily chart than on a monthly chart. And I don't want to use the word pump and dump because that sounds, you know, poor, right? But it's the way to make the point. Yo, we pumped from November to December. I don't want us to dump in January and then bad things happen because like it does on the daily, it would on the monthly, right? So just don't get too normally, you know me, I go crazy on volume, right? But I think this is a little too outlier and a little too hard. Like, if this happened on no news, I'd actually be more excited because, yo, we can do no news again next month, right? So I at least wanted to start with that comment, all right? So from there, let's start talking. There isn't horrible spacing here. I think if you can get over the 8 and the 20, I think we'll probably use this candle. Give me a sec. What's you at? No, it's too low. That's too high. Okay, yeah. So get me into, that's too high. Let's use $10. Get me into 10. I think you've got a decent shot. It's not quite 11. I at least wanted it to be 10%. All right, look, I kind of want a 10% channel for me to like really, you know what I mean? But again, different risk reward tolerances and different whatevers, right? But that's not bad spacing. That's not bad spacing. I want to get over that. Get me over 1230. You can basically see that's almost a perfect 50% of this big candle right here, right? Get me over 12, let's call it 1250. Get me over 1250. I'll start thinking these 3 lines from there, all right? Otherwise, look, this is a strong line. It makes a lot of sense that the 200 moving average would make us bounce. We're still a little too low from volume right there, right? So, yeah, I wish the spacing was a little better. I think the best thing to say is get me over 1250. It is. From there, let's take a look at CGC. Oh, that's way too tight. 140. That's the line right there. I can't even lower it. That's way too tight. 140. This has to get over 140. There's nothing else I need to look at. Let's take a look at MSOS. Oh, that's interesting. Yo, this is an interesting chart right here, mainly because of all the dojis right there, right? You've got 4 moving averages, if you include the 50, super tight 3 right there. We're just under this very, very important 5, right? It's red because at one point it was our death line that killed the stock, to say the least. It is now an important former support. I can't get the words out right, but this is an important line right there, all right? What I'm trying to... I think this is our line. Arguably, you can say 544. I think I'm okay with... See, I don't want to just use 5, but I think the answer is 5. I think if this gets over 5, I might actually believe we've broken those. Because from there, yeah, I mean, maybe 520 is a little bit better, but I actually still think 5 is the best line. Break 5, hopefully we'll get a 20% move up to 6 right there. Maybe 540 will be a little tough, but I don't think so. I think it should make a move to 6. So far, this has been the best of the 3. But again, these are just dojis, right? Like, this is a little bit too much uncertainty. This is a lot of moving averages, and there is a chance it could fall back down to 425. But yeah, this is at least better than the other 2, I think I would say right there. It's interesting to see this holding that well. Let me go into the MSOs. Let's take a look at TRULF. What does this look like? TRULF doesn't look bad. It's trying. It just really needs to get over 892. Where's CURLF? CURLF. Yeah, this one doesn't look great. This has to get over 3. Too many moving averages right there. CRSCO. CRSCO doesn't look bad. TRULF and CRSCO are doing it pretty well. CURLF is holding it back a little bit. Verano is the other one. This one doesn't look bad either. I wonder if CURLF is just that big a holding on MSOS. Interesting. I don't know. I will say 3 of the 4 MSOs actually did look pretty good. I think that's probably why these dojis are there. Maybe the CURLF position is just a little too big. That is the saddest one of the 4 right there. Interesting. I'm not too sure right there. Let's take a look at high tide. Actually, we talked about high tide on the Discord, and this is a perfect zoom right there. All right. If you can get me over that 50 moving average line, if you can get me over that red line that we've been trying to get over for what seems like the last couple weeks, we should make a nice move all the way up to potentially 311. I've got that 307 line right there that we're looking at. The one thing I do see is, hey, it looks like the 2 moving averages, the 200 specifically, did do a pretty good job. And really, so did this golden line. This has been a very, very important 254 line, right? It's been a tough one to break, and then when we broke it, we ran. It's been a whole mess of nothing for a while. This has been a very important line, and like an important line, it was a good, strong support for a couple of weeks. So I do like seeing that. I do like today's candle. I think we just got to get over the 50 before I'll get a little more excited, right? Maybe you can see that's kind of where we wick today too. I think around 285 is probably what we'll be looking for. Not bad volume today too right there. Let's take a look at SNDL right now. Too many moving averages. I think just like high tide, get me over the 50 moving average. High tide just looks a lot closer to it, right? I would do 188. I'm basically using the top of this candle right here. Get me into 188 range, and we should make our way on up to 214 right there. Yo, I'll throw in Weeble at the end. I'm going to do Hood as well, so that's actually a pretty good one. For a back-to-back right there. I haven't looked at Bull in a minute. I assumed Bull was going to do so much better too. Very disappointing. SNDL though, like I said, get me over the 50 to 188. We'll make our way up there. I would basically say game over under 170. Even 171, right? I don't want to lose 50% of today because look, hey, we're still under all the moving averages, right? Like I'm kind of assuming we're over them, right? So can't go below that. SNDL is right there. VFF. I have not been including VFF. Someone got really disappointed at me on the YouTube comments. I'm going to try to include this one. Dude, this thing's been crushing it. It has been crushing it. And it's been riding the 50 really, really well. Bounce right there, bounce right there, bounce right there, and seemingly we're bouncing right here again, right? Still a bunch of dojis, so we do need a little bit more certainty. I'd like to get into that like 395 range. I think that would be a really good range. How about you? No, that's too low. How about you? Yeah, 390. At that point, I would just wait for the 395. Give me 395 and I'll start thinking 430 again. Really, what VFF has at least shown is don't lose the 50. As long as you don't lose the 50, it's all good. And hey, that's a bad candle below it, but it didn't really confirm, right? Arguably, you could say that was the one below and that was confirmation. So that was actually a really interesting save right there. Very good VFF, man. Nice. I think it's just because we haven't used the 50. Sorry, I'm going back in time knowing what today did and like trying not to cheat, but that's a really good moment right there. Let me just say the words out loud. You're under the 50. That's a confirmation candle. It is. It's not a giant candle, but that's not a doji. This should have headed down to here. It really should have. Instead, it flew to the apex right there, right? So really, really strong 50 moving average line. And then what I'd said under my breath real quick was, I think the main reason simply was this was basically the second hit almost the entirety of the year, especially at least since we made the break. So that's the 50, the 100, and the 2. These are really strong lines. It's hard to break up, and it should be hard to fall down right there. You know what I mean? So VFF, one more time, get me over 395. We'll start thinking 433. Do I need more lines up there? I'll draw more lines. I'll draw one more line, actually. We'll use the weekly. I keep coming down here to draw something. I don't know why. I'll probably use that right there. Yeah, look at that. It's the top of that. Almost 50 of that. Kind of. I like that. That's a good line. 519 will be above that. Cool. VFF. There we go. I've got 3 more in this section, and then I'm going to go to some newer tickers, and then I'll turn to the tickers in the comments right there. SNDL, get me over the 50. There's been a lot of the sector has looked like this. You're still kind of under most of the moving averages. Maybe you're over a couple, but get me over the 50. I'll start to believe you're going to go to the 100. I think that really has been the theme of the sector. Not there. We'll use this. 188, same number as the last one. Not too shabby. Makes life easier, right? Get me over 188, and I'll start to think 214, right? Wait, we did SNDL earlier. Did I not? Or is it actually the same number? Oh my gosh. All right. I think I am sampling the sector a little too much before recording. That's okay, though. That's okay. I don't remember if I did this one already, but whatever. 188 going up there. That seems too familiar. I think I'm laughing right now at myself. You can be too. It's okay. Let's take a look at ACB. Okay. I for sure see all the red. I just don't like all those moving averages right there. I think I would prefer this to get over 5. If you get over 5, you actually might make a pretty fast climb to 613. Red, green, red right there, right? But even another one right there. I love this thing actually over 5. I don't personally, but over 450, you can make the trade to 470. Not quite a 10% move, and hey, maybe you'll that's still not 10%. Yeah, I think I would want to get over 5 on this. But again, different risk reward tolerances, right? Yo, I will throw that one in as well. I don't think I know that one, BBWI. I don't think I know that one. I will throw that in at the end. And then Charlotte's Web. I don't know the ticker. Charlotte's Web. Cool. Again, I'm in the US, so I have to look at the over-the-counter for this one, right? So this is the pink. Yo, Charlotte Web making a move. You know, it's interesting because, all right, the main thing that Trump really did was make weed a little more senior focused, all right? All the stuff that he's doing is not for the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds, the 50. It's for the 60s, the 70s, and really it's more the 70s and the 80s, right? Like It is a lot more elderly care, and Charlotte's Web is a CBD brand I see everywhere. I see this thing in Target, I see this thing in Walmart, all the places, right? They got nice packaging and all that sort of stuff. And though they did a lot of like hemp banning and this and that, that seems like it's going to come into life, right? And Trump was talking about potentially having your elderly CBD medicine covered by your insurance. Yo, it makes a lot of sense to me. This is doing this actually. So keep that in your back pocket for other like CBD heavy companies. Cause yo, can you imagine if Blue Cross will pay for, cause like there's gonna be an approved vendor list, right? Like they're not, I was gonna curse right there, but they're not gonna buy chart reader hemp cream, right? Like they're not gonna cover that. But Charlotte's Web's got a real shot at being, you know, Kaiser Permanente approved brand or whatever, right? So I can see a little bit of hype doing it. Yo, at the bare technical minimum, we've broken all the moving averages, and you break all five and you fly, you lose all five and you die, right? So love just seeing the technical right there, just riding the 8 like a champion, really hovering over the 8, and really this is the first bounce point, so I love it. You have your 20 starting to come up as well. Solid. Yo, very, very high RSI, right? It is a very high RSI. We actually did a healthy cool down from 98 to only 87, which is, you know, that's still really high right there, right? But I'm gonna guess it's a little bit of that high. Oh man, as you zoom out, there's so much red. Let's come to the weekly real quick. Ah, that's what we did. We went from the 100 to the 200 on the weekly right there too. Gosh. Yo, I hope, bro, or broette, I don't know if you're a guy or Gerald, I'm assuming you're a dude. I hope you crushed with this one, man. This was a lovely technical thing. You know, the weekly, if you're, dude, look at this. We've never been over that. We've never even been over this, right? Like, look, I'm not a long, I gotta zoom out for you, man. We're at the 50. Look at all this, like, let's use the monthly real quick. I'll draw that. Where are we to you? We're right there to you. And then from there, like, it's here. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't even draw this. So, damn, dude. Charlotte's Web's a tough one. I'm going to be real honest with you. To the short, like, day to weekly trader me, I have to at least say, I think that there's a real shot that it drops to 32. I don't want to say 20. I don't think you're going to lose this gap. I think the lowest this will come down to is 32. All right. I think that's what I would say. Because, yo, that is a crazy high RSI. As easy as it is to say, yo, volume's going down, this and that, this is a really good hold on volume, and it's something that we've never seen on this stock before, right? I also just really like the fact that we've truly never used the 8 on this climb. This is the first time, and even on this, we never even used the 8, right? So there's a lot of me that thinks this one's a fresh one, and I'm now trying to stay a little like this is an interesting one, bro. This is an interesting one. I don't know how heavy their like exposure is and how like this and that, but we'll do this. We'll use 37. Where's this right here? 48 and 57 are your 2 lines up. I am wildly bullish as long as you don't lose 32. I think that's where I'll end it right there. So there will be approved hemp CBD manufacturers that get insurance coverage. All right, whoever gets that, even as the rumors start, that's where the money's gonna come, and keep an eye there. And yo, that's a for real Trump thing for sure right there. All right, so that was the weed sector. We're now at 49 minutes for the next one. My wife is at lunch with a friend, so we've got plenty of time. Yo, I will for sure cover SIDU. Knock on wood on the chart reader Discord. Dude, we crushed SIDU. I don't know Fly. I'll include that. And then DXYZ, I'll take a look at that. You know, it makes sense with the SpaceX IPO that DXYZ might be doing well. But I've got a couple more. And for real, SIDU was the next one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Oh, you know what? No, let's keep. I wanted to do Plug and SoFi. Let me throw in Plug and SoFi, and then I'll come into the other one. So let's take a look at Plug. Yo, today was a good candle. All right, today was a double digit, took out one of my drawn lines, right? Like we actually got over the 50-day line on volume. You know, it's a easy day to get excited. Personally, I think I need just a little bit more here. All right, I don't like when the 150 are literally at the same place, right? When you look in the box over there, 231 and 232, they are a penny away. These are hard lines individually to break, let alone when they're stacked together. So personally, I would not touch this thing until we're over this candle right here. 237, 236. You can even wait till this one and call it 240. I think after 240, and I'm going to delete it because it's not worth drawing, but get me over 240, and it is just green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 potentially all the way up to 340, and that is a monster gain right there. I'm pretty sure I have an alert, but I'll set it right now. And again, not an immediate buy notification, but it's definitely a come check it out, all right? My concern is we might fall to 213 on Monday, and that's not what I want, because just look at the stock. We've actually still been under the 100 moving average, right? Can't get over it, can't get over it, can't get over it. Try to, but then can't, and then I'm thrown down, right? So this has been a tough line. Can't assume it will. And you really got to, damn, there was a ZETA. I'm going to cover this one later, but I know I said this earlier. What tends to happen, especially with the 100, is, yo, you oscillate it, right? This one's got a bunch of line, like, there's still a little bit of doubt that Plug has taken over the 100 moving average. And I think it's a little important to respect is at least the last two lines, let alone, you know, at least the last one, right? But Plug, easy to get excited. I'm not just yet, but I will be very excited if we break that. Because again, look at that. At 240, where I'm clicking right now, we are over all the moving averages on the weekly, all the moving averages on the daily. That's a good place to be, all right? So that's Plug right there. Let's come take a look at SoFi. Yo, I am shocked that this is not a $40 stock right now. I am shocked we did not take off right there. We did not take, this candle even got over the highest candle to the left. I am shocked that we fell like that, and we're right here. The only educated thing I can say, and I have some friends that have more money than me by a lot. And the one thing I tell them, because I'm here trying to become like them, and I have to trade silly tickers. This one's not a silly ticker. This one I like. And as long as you are over this 26 line, you honestly can just average up right here all day, right? I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. I'm not here to tell you buy or sell. That is never, never, never what I do. Yo, as long as SoFi is over 26.17, it's all good. I'm shocked that we're still this low. There is absolutely no pretending that sentence. I feel like I can't say that sentence enough. But why does this line matter? Because we're going to go all the way back to the start. We're going to go all the way up. Come on, baby. What did you do? Don't freeze on me. Come on. Give me a second. Oh, we froze a little bit. Oh, no. There we go. There we go. Okay, cool. So let me keep zooming. Sorry about that. This 26 point, it's not even a real candle over here. It's an absolute nothing of a candle right here, right? Let me just zoom in more just so you can see it. Oh, come on. Why are you freezing? Okay, cool. Right? Absolutely no, not even the doji at all, right? So there's nothing going on here. Nothing going on here. Nothing going on here. This was a true 2025 line, right? And oh man, I thought there was a cooler explanation for this line, and there isn't. I really have to kind of just say, trust me right here, and that's not the right thing to do. This is an important line right here. It is. It might have looked better. I don't even know if it would have looked better in my the 1 or the 2, but that's the line right there. The real money line, let's just at least say some better things here. I think it's the top of you. 2870. I think get over 2870. Arguably, you can use 2890. All right. If you get over that, the next place you're going to come is 2990. After 2990, it is all-time highs. Believe me, I see all those numbers, but that's how I do things. We've got a decent MACD and RSI green over red. This is a healthy 50. This is just in the negative, right? Volume's been bad. This isn't a stock that I need to get over the 50 line, but I need it to be a lot closer than it has been. Today's at least a lot closer than it has been. So let's follow up on Monday, and that'd be solid right there. Okay, so now is where I'm going to chapter this. We'll do 5,530, give or take. Okay, so this first ticker, SIDU. All right, yo, you know, there's a lot of like baseline fundamental things to the chart readers group and room, right? The one sincere thing I do believe is there is no such thing as a better technical analysis than another, right? There are people that don't give anything. They don't care about moving averages. They care about, you know, Bollinger Bands or Fibonacci or VWAP or whatever, right? There's advantages to a lot of them because they see things that another one won't. And SIDU, I for sure would have missed. This one came in the Discord room. I think it's mainly because of a VWAP and a float reason, if I'm not mistaken, because I know the trader. And you know, what's important to do, even on all these tickers that I throw, right? Use your own technical analysis to look at my tickers and say, oh yeah, I think there's something here, right? And that's what happened here. SIDU has been a beast. And I think this was arguably the money candle. Truly, once we got over this point, there was no return. But I talk about having 4 candle colors often, all right? There is red and green only, but there is green outline, green filled in. There's red outline and red filled in, all right? Red filled in is the most common red, all right? Most of the time when things are bad, they're really bad, all right? But sometimes there is such thing as a good bad. And that is what this candle on the 23rd was, all right? So, yo, let's talk about the 22nd. Monster volume. There was actually news. I can't flash between windows, so I can't show you in the Discord room, but there was actually real news on this day right here, all right? It had something to do with the defense company. I don't know. Maybe they won an award. Maybe they got some, like, funding. I don't remember what it was, but big candle. Big candle, right? We're in a cluster of all the moving averages. All of a sudden, we gap up over them, right? So clearly, this is a horrible candle. If you look in the top over there, this was a negative 27% day. Ugly, horrible, for sure should be red candle, right? Yo, this was a good candle, and I'm going to tell you why. All right, first let's look at this one. The red filled in, the little ones, the big ones, whatever, they open, look in the box over there, they open at the top up here at 3 and then fall all the way down to the final number in green at 192. This red candle, however, look in the box over there, it opens down here at a $1.30, $1.40, 137, and then actually makes its way on up for a 7-hour day and closes up here at 165. Yo, for sure, this is 30% lower than up here, right? That's for sure not a good candle, but that's a good candle. And what I really liked about it was it happened over the 200 moving average, right? So all of a sudden, and I remember saying this, I hope you saw it on the comments, right? We had never basically been over the 200 moving average. There was a single moment right here. Good candle doji, good candle red, good candle red, and then nothing, right? One candle, nothing. Like, we've never been over this line. we still haven't really confirmed, and I'm not exactly sure if I want to use today as a confirmation. I'm still 50-50 in my head right now, but yo, this was the candle. And then from there, once we got over 50% of the candle, that's where this line was, right? We were going to come here. Once we got over here, I didn't have it, but I had a comment that 145 was going to be the line. It was basically the top of this thing right here, right? And then 680 is going to be the next line up, okay? Now listen, it's crazy to me that this is only a 77 RSI. I don't hit the alarm bell until 80, right? I think the one thing to note, right? Let me just draw this real quick. Boom. Let's go just a little bit higher. Oh, there was a 90. Wait, I didn't see this one. Get out of here. Oh, 89. Interesting. There was only one 89, so I'm gonna. It seems like, oh, it's still 87. You know what? Maybe I didn't zoom in. Maybe I was just zoomed in too hard. I thought it was low. That's not bad. This thing's gone up to 87. Never mind. I was gonna say something dumb, and then I'm not. Look, if this hits 80, I'm for sure gonna ring the alarm bell in my head. But we've seen things go higher, right? We have really nice, consistent growth. Like, that's pump, right? That's a good slope right there of growth. And man, I love that MACD divergence right there, right? When you look at the weekly, it's a little high as well right there, right? You're at an 88 on the weekly. Man, it's just, this one's a little tough to like make the next judgment. And for sure, I am not thinking break the 100 and go to the 200 because that's a little too high up right there, right? I'm not quite sure if we're going to go to 680 flat, like straight or not. Basically, this is the next where I'm at, okay? Can't lose 4, okay? That's 50% of today's candle. If we lose 4, I don't know if 360 is going to hold. Also, if you lose 4 and you come at 360, that's already a 10% loss right there. But I don't have that much confidence in this line, and my fear is if you lose 4, it's going to be a fast fall down to this 320 line. That's basically a $1 drop from where we're at. That's basically a 25% drop, right? So 4 is a very critical line, okay? That said, we're basically right here, right? We're like near the top. You can see the top of this day is 458. If we break 460, the next place we're going to go is 525. All right. After 525, I think you can think that number right there. All right. As long as we don't lose 4, it's all good on SIDU. Yo, I got your other tickers too. I'll throw them there. Like I said, my wife is having lunch with her friend, so I should have plenty of time to keep going. Yeah, I think that's about it right here. SIDU. Cool. I'm going to tell you, a lot of people have made a decent amount of money on this one right now. All right. So keep that in your back. I know a lot of people are saying some crazy things. Yo, I for sure see all the red, this and that. There's going to be some profit banking soon. Like it needs to come, right? But SIDU, keep this one in your back pocket. There is a lot of excitement on this one. VELO, this is the next one I want to look at, all right? So it's weird because when I look at my Webull, I actually see more history. As I look at this chart right here, obviously this is everything I see right here, all right? The entirety of my decision happened right there. All right, and I'll come back to that shortly, all right? Immediately, what are we looking at? Yo, we're looking at all-time highs, at least on this view right here, right? We have a real good MACD that goes up. I often say I don't know the math behind these. I have absolutely no idea why the green is going down right here, even though we just keep going up here, right? So honestly, I'm ignoring this and looking at the number. That's a super healthy, 58. I think at the minimum, maybe it should be going up, and I'm kind of looking at it as a 72 in my eyes. Nonetheless, it's not at the 80 alarm bell, right? What I really like, and what I've just been, this thing is just bouncing on the 8 like a champion. We are now over the biggest candle to the left. We should be seeing another 20% after another 20% until something else happens. All-time highs is a beautiful thing, all right? Now, I want to figure out a way to see, because I also have Thinkorswim. I don't have it set up right now, but I will probably check this thing out on Thinkorswim to to see if I can get some more history and go from there. All right. So why did I talk about this point right here? All right. This was obviously, because now we're up here, right? This was the biggest candle to the left. I just really needed to get over about 50% of that candle right there, right? You can see there was a test right there. You can see there was a test right there without confirmation. There was a good one right there. And then once the gap up went, it was game over right there, right? Two other things I want to say. Charles Schwab made me call in to buy this thing. All right. Again, I'm never here to say what I buy or sell. I'm just making this comment because I thought it was crazy weird. And I don't know if this happened to anyone else. I was trying to buy it online like I do with every single one. I also went into my app to see if there's a problem with my desktop. It keeps saying call in, call in. It was the weirdest thing. I'm a really, really lazy person, and I was almost going to not call in because I was too lazy to dial, but knock on wood, I did. And hey, we're in right now, right? But VELO, there's been some connections to Tesla and Elon, and I've seen a couple weird things out there. Honestly, I didn't do a lot of research on the company. I don't really know, but right now I'm just riding the blue skies of all-time high. And more than anything, as long as we don't lose the 8 moving average, I have absolutely no reason to concern myself, right? I think the easy technical thing to say is don't go below 1530, all right? Truth be told, it's actually very, very bullish all the way down to 1390, right? Actually, let's use this number. This is probably the last bullish point, 1345, all right? Hopefully by then, though, the 20 will catch up, and then there you go, right? But VELO, check this one out. I had to call in. It was really weird. You know, I actually thought that there was some issue with my account. I have no idea. Keep this one in your back pocket, though. Let's take a look at UMAC. UMAC is one that caught my eye. UMAC actually looks a decent amount like ONDS. ONDS did have a better day, so it kind of like swayed a little bit of that, but the two of them seem to be kind of being used together a little bit, and I'm very, very bullish on ONDS, so that kind of makes me look at other things that look like that one, right? So what are we looking at? First off, there's not a lot going on here. This is a relatively new chart. You can see it has run before, so I know it knows what to do. It has escaped the moving averages and run. That's basically what I'm looking for this thing to do right now, right? This is our line right here, 1402. It's a good 50% right there. It's almost the bottom of that thing. You can see some bottoms, almost some tops. I think this is what we're going to need to get over. If you get over that, I actually think it's going to be a pretty fast fly to that 19 right there. Maybe it'll slow down a little bit at 1640, but personally, green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 whole mess of nothing, right? Like, I think that could be a pretty fast fly right there. MACD is positive. RSI is a good, healthy 60. We've seen these little volume moments, right? I think we just need a little bit more volume, and hopefully good things will come. Yo, we cannot... Yeah, I'll say this. Don't go below 1245. But really, like I said, the goal is to break 14 right there. One more. So this one is the last one I had on my list. There are a few on the chat that I will go over, so I'll throw that in there. I personally don't get the hype on this one. I don't know if there's something I'm missing. Let me know. But it sounds like a lot of people are talking about this one. I don't see it just yet, okay? It for sure made a monster move in 2024. All right, I for sure see that, right? Green, 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 red, red, red. Hasn't really crazy green, green, green. Like it kind of plateaued, like it should have done that, right? But maybe that's what people are expecting. I don't really know. Right now, what I'm basically looking at is the 100 moving average. All right, I'm seeing us, and I think I mentioned this earlier on a different one. We're just kind of oscillating over this line right here, right? We have 4 moving averages very, very tight, and we're just kind of getting thrown to the top and the bottom of the cluster right now. I need a little bit more before I'm going to believe. That's a little too high. What's your 50%? No, it's too low. That's probably the line right here. It's probably 2077. Let me zoom out just a little bit. That's too high. 2090. That's our number right here. Top of this candle. 2096. Let's do 2097. If it can get over that, yeah, I'll get a little interested. Let's just draw the line right there. So if we can get over that basic 21, there's a good green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 and essentially nothing after that, right? With the next line, I would probably use that, being 22 something, if not all the way up to maybe 25 something after that, okay? Otherwise, for now, all I really see it is going up and down, and I'm kind of expecting it to come to either 19 or like 1860, right? So still need to believe, hey, I for sure see that we're over the 8. We were over the 8 right here, and then it kind of went down for a little bit of no reason too, right? So I don't know. I'm not too sure about this. The ticker is ZETA on this one. ZETA, and then the last one was UMAC. So at this point, damn, we're at an hour 10. Hell yeah. Okay, I'm going to do the viewer requests now. I think hood is my first one. We'll do hood, we'll do bull, and then BBWI, fly, DXYZ. Cool. Hood. Yo, get out of here. This is what hood looks like? I would not have guessed that. I really remember this. I remember hood climbing and holding the 50 and just all-time high loveliness, actually. I am very surprised to see us under 4 of the 5 moving averages. I am not sure. Maybe this earnings was that bad? Wow. I would have not guessed that it would look like this. Okay, where's your weekly at? Ah, it's a tough weekly. Okay, so look, the weekly is very, okay, let's at least use this first. So the weekly is saying that there's a possibility for 105. 105 is a really important line because if you lose 105, it's actually a pretty fast fall to 90. Where are we here? 97. And then, yeah, 105 is basically this. My goodness. So the sad thing to say is I wouldn't touch hood until it got over 130. I think at this point, we got to get over that because like I really wouldn't go from 117 to 123. And then that 123 is so tight all the way to 127. I would just, yeah, 130, 129 and change is what this has to go to because otherwise, like I said, here, yeah, you can see we dojied, right? It didn't want to lose this line because if it lost this line, you're then looking at green, 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 red, 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 and like as strong as I think that the 200 is, right? And we actually haven't used this thing very, very much. We've only used it twice, right? So this should be hard to lose, but at this point, 106, basically 107 and 98 are my 2 targets down. Truly, I would not touch this thing until it broke 130. I am rather surprised hood looks like this. Let's come into Webull. Dude, I am shocked. You can see it. These were my lines. I really thought we were going to break this 15-18 point. I will be honest, I think I lost a little bit too much money on this 15 line because I was like, oh, that one's going to do it. That's the oh my gosh, this was a ticker that really annoyed me. Look, bad things happen under the moving averages. Bad things happen under the 8 and the 20, and man, this thing just the 8 and the 20 killed this thing, right? Where are you? 825? No. All right, I personally would wait until 945. If you can break 945, my next target would be 1150, and that's some pretty nice trading right there. Maybe like a 1030-ish would stop it, but yeah, I think this needs to get over the 50 before I would even consider Webull. And look, really where we are at is all-time lows, right? This right here, it's barely anything, but this is truly our death line right now, right? This is the too dark. This is the only candle down here, right? And I'm glad we didn't go below it today. I'll tell you that because it would have been a lose 20% after 20% after 20%, right? So Webull is looking down the barrel of all-time lows, and that's not where you want your money to be, right? I would for sure wait for like 940, like I said, and then hopefully we'll go from there. It's a wild disappointment that it never broke that 1575 line. I mean, just a wild disappointment right there. That's those two right there. I don't know this one. BBWI. Oh, yo, BBWI. Yeah, this is a must-watch on Monday for sure. All right, all about the 50 moving average. You know this is not an easy line, and let's be honest, we actually haven't touched the line since we lost it back here in September. That said, hey, we made a very nice recovery. I wonder if it was because this was good earnings. I'm not actually sure or not, but where's your weekly at? The weekly, that's not bad. Look, it's that's not bad right there. That's a good doji on the line. That's a decent candle to close out the week. This is actually saying that there's a path to 23.75 right there. Get me over, what's our money line? Ah, there's nothing down here. Goodness, there's nothing down here since 2020. Gosh. Give me the hourly real quick. Give me a second real quick. Let's find a good line on this. It's an interesting ticker here. It's around 2110. What's this? So there's no such thing as safe. I would use 2130 as the safest line. I think 2113 is a interesting line as well, actually. I think one of those two will be the money line. And then from there, like I said, we're basically looking at 2430. And then after that would be 26. Interesting. Nice. Build-A-Bear work, Bath and Body Works. They sell the candles and stuff in the mall. I know this place for sure. This is an interesting ticker. Look, if it fails the 50, all right, I wouldn't want this to go below 20. I think the lowest I'm comfortable with this going is this line right here. Is 1950. I guess as long as you don't lose 1950, maybe it'll take a couple attempts to take the 50 moving average out, and that's as low as I'm willing to let that go while you make that attempt. BBWI, hey, this is worth eyes. Let's take a look at, I want to look at Fly first because I don't know this stock. Oh, this is newer. Okay, so oh man, why didn't this fly? Was it your weekly? What day was this? The 22nd? Was it because of that? 26. No. Interesting. Okay. So let's take a look at Fly. The first thing I'm looking at is this 50 moving average right here. I'm really shocked that this wasn't a confirmation candle up, because that's a good candle right there. We just attempted to break the 50, clearly failed. 20 moving average is a good strong line. We bounce. Yeah, this was a big candle that took 2 moving averages out, but we gapped up and went all the way up there. I'm really surprised. Maybe it needed to close at 50%, which was like at, what, $1 higher or something, but I think the easy thing to say is I'm a little shocked that that wasn't enough confirmation to go up, okay? So from there, I now, honestly, I think I distrust this 50 a little more than I think I would have. Because, yo, the easy thing to say is, hey, this is a decent 50 bounce right here. But, yo, this is a decent 50 break right here, and it kind of meant nothing. That bothers me a little bit. That does bother me a little bit. Okay, so I think the most educated thing to say is we got to get over 25.40. It's at least the open on this gap up candle right here. I think after 25.40, that's actually not a bad trade. You're basically looking at about 27, and then hopefully we'll make the move to 30. I think that's kind of the 1, 2, 3 right there. It is complete game over. I think under 21.30. Don't lose this candle right here. Maybe you can go there and call it a flat 21, but if you're talking about a flat 21, I think you're going to start thinking all-time low a little bit too much. I don't know fly. I will add this one to the back. Hey, look, aerospace and defense is a really big one. I think that's what SIDU is, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like, there is a lot of, I love RCAT. Oh, this one's not, isn't RCAT another drone one? Why are you not calling it that? Interesting. ABAT is another one, but that's not that one either. Yeah, drone is big. Too many tickers in my head. Drones are going to be solid. So just keep that in your back pocket. Let's do DXYZ. All right, let's come into this one. Oh, man, this is all about the 200 right there. All about the 200 right there. Give me a second. What are you? That's a little too high. What are you? I think this is an interesting line. I think that's too low. Okay. I would first use 3330. Let me draw this. Let me see how close that is. I'll use that. I think that's not a bad line right there. 3330 is what I said. I have 3317 drawn there. That's not too bad. You can also wait for like 34 if you, God, that's a big cluster of 3. No, I think I want to raise it. Sorry, it's too many moving averages. Is the top of you 50% of you? That's too high. You're 50%. It's this one. I think I would, oh, that's this line right here. I think I would rather wait for 34 to break. This is a cluster of too many moving averages right there. You got the 200, you got the 20, you got the 8. And that 200 is not an easy line right there. Let's see. Oh, and you're basically at it. No, not really. Yeah, I like this. Look, break the 34 line. And then from there, I would be assuming, I think I would even go, I think to the top of that. Oh, we'll go there. We'll go that 50%. I would use 41 just after, actually. There's a lot of red, 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 green, green, green right there. I think that's a pretty solid line. Look, this cannot, damn, where's your can't lose line? It's super tight. Ah, that's where it wicked. You can't lose 30. If you lose 30, the fall to 27 could be quick, and that's a 10% drop right there that you don't want to have right there. DXYZ, look, there's a lot of talk about SpaceX going IPO. DXYZ, the top holding in this thing is SpaceX. So it is 100% SpaceX connected right there. So cool. We've got a few more in the chat. Okay. I don't know these next 4 actually solid. Let's look at tan. Oh, I like tan. Okay. All right, let me draw some line. Let's look at the weekly real quick. Oh, okay. First and foremost, tan looks like the next place it wants to come is 53.80. Let's call it 54 right there. I think that's a nice little, that's a good place to start us right there. Let's start coming back here a little bit. Let's come here. So where's this? That's at 60. Nice. Okay. Where's your bottom at? That's still higher than where we're at. Yeah, I'd probably use this. Okay, cool. So now let's come back to where we're at. I guess we'll draw the next line up too. Why not? Probably that right there. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Okay, let's come back to where we're at. So I liked tan, okay? I'm basically seeing a good escape and a fly. Lovely, right? RSI has actually been really flat as it's been going up, so it doesn't even need crazy momentum to make this run right there. MACD is green over red, RSI not quite green over red, but again, we've lived really well going flat, and it's at least a very, very healthy number right there. When I looked at the weekly didn't look bad either, right? This is a nice little healthy 68, and clearly we're coming back to that 200 moving average, right? So where are you actually at? 54. A lot to love over 54 is what I would say. My line's at 53. I don't know if I should move it because of that, because like I feel like what 54 would probably be like the peak of that thing right there, right? Let's just do that. Let's just do that. I like this 54 line. It'll put us over. It does. It puts us over on the weekly, puts us over on the daily, and hey, not quite a 10%. It's not even a 5%. Yeah, it's a 5%. It's more than 250. It's at least a 5%. I would like that 54 to 60 a little bit better. That's at least a good little 10% window, and clearly that's some good trading above that right there, right? I think as long as you can stay above 48, I do really like tan. You know, it's interesting. I wouldn't think solar is a good place to look. Personally, look, when I think Trump, I think this guy's going to drill in Alaska, right? I don't necessarily think he's going to give solar power some love. But hey, end of the day, we need power. We need something to run AI, run quantum, run whatever, right? So if solar becomes the answer, hey, maybe it is going to be solar. I have no idea, right? NXT, this is one I think I do know, actually. I think I've traded this one before. Oh, I like it. This is not quite ready yet. I would use this as the money line. Maybe it's a little too tight, but you shouldn't have anything else. Yeah, I didn't think so. I do know this stock. Yeah, I would use this. I think 94-ish is the line because this actually closes at 93.75. I even think maybe a flat 94 should be good enough. Break 94, I think you'll make a good move to 101 and then 107 after that. I really don't mind these lower indicators at all. Green over red, you barely see it, but it's there. It is negative, but it's close. Very healthy 48, just needs a little bit more volume. I think getting over all the moving averages would bring some more volume right there. NXT, where are you on your weekly? You're in a good place on your weekly. You're over all the moving averages. Not too shabby. Yeah, again, I wouldn't think solar. I really wouldn't, but these are two pretty solid charts right here. First Solar. I know this one as well. Hey, I did know these tickers. This is a good chart right here. Again, this is a good chart. This is not far from all-time highs either. That looks good on the weekly. 70's not crazy high. Yeah, I like First Solar. You're basically testing 50% already right now. I would expect 280 to be next. 284 should be what this thing goes after. And then, is it all-time highs after that? No, let's come into the early weekly. Oh, it basically is. You break that 280 we just talked about, you'll have all-time highs shortly after. Where's your monthly? Oof! That's a real healthy monthly. This could have some good months ahead of it as it flies into all-time. Get out of here, solar. Wow, I was not looking at solar at all. Sunrun, I do know all these ones. I haven't looked. I feel like I haven't looked at any of these since the Biden days. I think that was actually rather dumb of me. Goodness. Where is Sunrun? Yo, Sunrun's not in a bad place. We're basically sitting at this peak right here. Peak, 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 peak. Let me just draw it as I click it, right? Peak, 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 bottom of peak, bottom of peak, bottom of peak, peak, peak. That's where we're at right now. This is a very, very big line. Break these peaks, and they all basically come to here next, right? Maybe there's a little bit something right there at like 24, but break, let's roughly use 21. It should go to basically 31 right there. Damn, how was I not looking at solar this entire time? These are decent lower indicators right there. Positive MACD, not quite green over red, but decent healthy number. That's not bad volume. Oh man, we're just basically sitting right at the 200 moving average. Ah, goodness, big 21 line for sure. Get out of here, wow. All right, I think that's all of them. Cool, just under $1.30, not too shabby. Wife hasn't even called yet either. I'm gonna do one more check. Any other tickers anyone wants to cover? Hey, cool. Not too bad. This was a lot of fun. Yo, I missed making videos. It should be back to normal next week. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I'm excited for 2026. 2025 was good trading on my side. If it wasn't for you, do not worry. It was not that long ago. I was not good. All right. So nice. We're going to throw in one more. I see one more ticker in there, and then we'll say our goodbye. CHYM. Oh, I like this one. I do. Look, it needs to get... no, I like this one. I do. Because you know what? Like, it was an ugly Wednesday, and today was a decent day. Give me a sec. That's our money line. 27. I'm clicking at 26.99. I'll set an alert for that one. We'll do a penny higher. Get me over 27. And yeah, you're probably going to go to 30, which is 10% right there. Break 30, you'll probably come to 33. Break 33, you should actually, you'll probably test you'll test 36, which is all-time high from there. So solid right there. I don't know this one. You know, there was another one I saw, DNN. Keep this one in your back pocket. I like DNN. That's a real strong candle. That's a good MACD and RSI. It was good volume. You look at the weekly, these are really nice lower indicators on the weekly. And we're basically sitting at not quite, but we're almost here. And then there's not a lot until all the way up here. All right. So keep this one in your back pocket. We'll end it here for those that came here. DNN. It's some kind of mining stock. I don't know. Cool. Hey, I appreciate you so much. Have a great one, everyone. How do I turn this off? Dun, dun, dun. I don't know. Okay, I think it's like that.